Hello everyone, in this video I will show you some best Metroidvania games for PC, Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and Switch in 2020. But before we start this video, make sure you subscribe to your channel Games Down and hit the bell icon for more gaming videos. So without any further ado, let's start this video. The first game of this video is Ori and the Blind Forest, a Metroidvania platformer from developer Moon Studios. The game has players taking control of Ori, a fox-like white guardian spirit, along with a fairy named Sign. Both have special abilities, when used in tandem, allow the player to defeat enemies and traverse environments. As you progress through the game, Ori and Sign obtain new abilities, allowing you to reach new areas that were previously inaccessible. Next up we have The Messenger. The Messenger is a Metroidvania that more likely to appeal to fans of retro games who admire 8 and 16-bit graphics. That because a majority of the game feels like a love letter to classic side-scrollers like Ninja Gaiden as well as classic Metroidvanias like Castlevania Symphony of the Night. You play as a ninja tasked with delivering an ancient scroll to the top of a mountain whose path is littered with an assortment of supernatural monsters and deadly traps. Next up we have Dead Cells. Dead Cells is a fast-paced, 2D roguelike with enough Metroidvania elements to warrant including it on this list. The game revolves around exploring procedurally generated dungeons in search of blueprints that allow you to craft better gear while under constant attack from groups of enemies. After your inevitable death, you are brought right back to the start, this time with slightly more resources than your last run. This allows you to make incremental upgrades to your abilities and gear in order to delve deeper into your next run and uncover more secrets. Next up we have Hollow Knight. By this point, Hollow Knight has pretty much solidified its place in Metroidvania Hall of Fame. The game is centered on its title protagonist, a silent sword-wielding knight on a quest to unlock the mysteries of Hallownest, a dark and dangerous kingdom that offers great rewards to any brave enough to explore its treacherous environments. The 2D action platformer does an excellent job of finding new ways to use its Metroidvania format to encourage exploration by providing the player with massive environments littered with collectibles and rewards. Next up we have SteamWorld Dig 2. SteamWorld Dig 2 is a 2D Metroidvania that manages to improve on everything from the first game without making any compromises. You control a steam-powered robot miner named Dorothy as she sets out to search for the first game protagonist, Rusty, after he gone missing. However, like most Metroidvanias, SteamWorld Dig 2's story mainly serves to complement the game's addictive gameplay loop, which sees you delving deeper into underground mines and collecting valuable resources to then be sold in exchange for new gear and upgrades. Next up we have Guacamelee 2. Following the success of the popular 2D Metroidvania centered on powerful locators, Guacamelee 2 remains loyal to the original while making a couple of refinements. The sequel takes place 7 years after the events of the first Guacamelee, and sees a much older and out-of-shape locator one called back into action when a new enemy from a different timeline threatens to destroy the entire metaverse. Although a majority of the mechanics will be familiar for anyone who played the first, minor changes to progression and an expanded moveset for chicken transformations make the experience feel fresh. Next up we have Blaster Master Zero. Blaster Master Zero is a phenomenal reboot of the retro NES title Blaster Master from Sunsoft. Japanese developer Intercreate set out to create a faithful recreation that ultimately feels like a more accessible version of the original. The game plays similarly to the NES version and sees players controlling Sophia, a versatile tank that can be used to defeat enemies and explore side-scrolling levels. Next up we have The Mummy Demastered. We don't get as many movie tie-in games today as we used to, especially ones that end up being more better received than the film they trying to promote. The Mummy Demastered checks both of those boxes while managing to be a pretty solid 2D Metroidvania. The pixel art game takes its direction from heavy hitters in the genre such as Castlevania and Ghosts Goblins while leaning heavily into its source material. Next up we have Timespinner. Timespinner stands out as a story-driven Metroidvania inspired by classic Zero's action platformers. In it, you play as Luna, a timekeeper on a quest for revenge after her family is murdered by the sinister Lechim Empire. Transported to an unknown world, Luna is forced to use her time manipulation powers to rewrite history and put a stop to the Axiom Empire. The last game of this video is Axiom Verge. Leaning into its 1990s side-scroller influence, Axiom Verge borrows many elements from recognizable franchises like Contra, Bionic Commando, and Metroid to name a few. You play as Trace, a scientist who passes out after a crippling injury and awakes to find himself in an ancient, high-tech world brimming with hostile creatures. The game heavily focuses on combat and exploration, with Trace having access to over 60 different items and power-ups that impact how battles play out. So that's it guys, thanks for watching this video. Subscribe to your channel Games Down and press the bell icon for more gaming videos.